Good evening. I will call this meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Salem for Monday, June 28th, 2021 to order. If the recorder will please call the roll.
Vice Chair Stapleton, absent. Commissioner Anderson.
Present.
Commissioner Phillips.
Here.
Commissioner Leung.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez, absent. Chair Hoy.
Here.
Commissioner Nordyke.
Here.
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Commissioner Anderson, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Thank you. And I see that we have nobody signed up for public comment. Commissioner Anderson, the consent calendar.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Leung. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you. The consent calendar is just enormous today, and it consists of the draft minutes of the Salem Housing Authority meeting, the last meeting we had, which was
I think you said May 24th, which you cut out at the end. So.
Yeah, I did say May 24th. I'm sorry. I'll really stick my face up in the screen here.
That's close enough. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. If the recorder will please call the roll.
Commissioner Gonzalez, absent. Commissioner Nordyke.
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stapleton, absent. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Leung.
Aye.
Chair Hoy.
Aye.
Thank
Motion passes. Thank you. I see that we have no public hearings, no special orders of business, so that takes us to information reports. And I see that we have the Housing Administrator, Ms. Utes, here with us. Ms. Utes, do you have any comments for us this evening?
Good evening. I'm Nicole Utes. I'm the Housing Administrator for Salem Housing Authority. So tonight, as I speak, we do have a team of mechanics out feverishly trying to keep our senior facilities ACs up and running during this heat. Another hurdle for us to overcome this year, but they are approved overtime to ensure that our units remain stable. We do have several ACs and refrigerators. It's been a very busy day for calls to keep things running and keep it going. But we'll keep out there tonight until we get it all going. So as well as that, you'll see in our portfolio occupancy report, you'll see that Meadowlark, Livingston, Northgate, and Brush College are 100% occupied. We have completed the interior remodels of the rental assistance demonstration from public housing into affordable housing, and we're pleased that they're all occupied again. We're doing the finishing touches and punch list items for those properties, so we're excited to have that project come to completion so we can move on to the next one. And with that being said, on June 4th, the Housing Stability Council for Oregon Housing and Community Services did approve the Sequoia crossings for the Permanent Supportive Housing Fund, and we're excited to get that project going, and we're working diligently with all of our partners and our development team to keep that one on track for an early closing in 2022. And as you can see in the program management report, we have completed about $1.5 million in landlord compensation fund, and I do know there's additional relief coming into landlords into our community. That's just round one, so we'll be getting round two information here shortly and getting that out the door as well.
Thank you so much. And I just want to take a moment to thank you and your staff for the excellent application for Sequoia Crossing and getting that approved. That was excellent, excellent work. That's going to be a game changer here. Many more units of permanent supportive housing here in Salem. And I also want to just do a special shout out to your staff, the dedicated public employees who are out today in this 117-degree heat, historic temperatures here in Salem, keeping people safe by keeping their units cooled, their refrigerators running. That's important stuff. And people don't, you don't read about that stuff in the headlines or anywhere else, but we know that they are out there working and keeping people safe by doing their jobs. And I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nordyke.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like to echo your comments, and I actually would like a little more details. What did Salem Housing Authority staff do to assist our residents that are who are using public housing during the heat wave? I'm hearing something about AC units and fridges and things like that. I'm wondering if you could elaborate for us, because I would be curious to know. I know that a lot of people on public housing need assistance, so I'm curious to hear.
Sure. So we have over 700 units, and the staff that dedicate to these units is about a staff of 11 on any given day of time. That includes our 6 lead mechanics that do a phenomenal job of keeping up all of these properties and units, keeping them running and going. During this leading up to this heat, we actually were following information from Oregon Health Authority, Oregon Housing Community Services. We were trying to broadcast cooling center information because many of our clients are very low income and do not have the capability to get themselves cooling facilities for their units, such as because freestandings can be expensive for a low income family. So we were referring anybody who was receiving calls that needed additional cooling, we were referring them as well to the cooling centers, because listening to partners, this was not only open to our homeless residents, but as well as anybody in the community that needed that assistance. We also put in a priority call system for our after hours emergency and maintenance numbers through the weekend. And then the team also compiled anything that needed emergency maintenance this morning, as well as the crews have ensured that anything with senior facilities related to heating and cooling systems was a priority number 1, refrigerators being a priority number 2, because they hold many of our clients' medications and their food supply. So those have been the 2 prominent ones that we have responded to today. And so far we haven't received any complaints, and we did have several of our mechanics that willingly stepped up to be able to stay overtime tonight to ensure that every one of those calls was answered for.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Utes? All right. Well, thank you. Keep up the great work. And seeing no further business before the Housing Authority, we are adjourned.
Well, good evening, and I'm going to call this meeting of the City of Salem Urban Renewal Agency for June 28th to order, and ask the recorder to please call a roll.
Board Member Stapleton, absent. Board Member Anderson. Board Member Anderson.
Present.
Board Member Phillips.
Here.
Board Member Leung.
Here.
Board Member Gonzalez, absent. Board Member Hoy.
Here.
Board Member Nordyke.
Here.
Board Member Lewis.
Here.
Chair Bennett.
Here. Are there any additions or deletions?
No, there are not.
All righty, we'll move on then to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the consent calendar with the exceptions of item 3.3A pulled by Councilor Lewis and 3.3B pulled by Councilor Lewis.
A second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Councilor Anderson.
That leaves us with item 3.1A, the June 14th, 2021 draft urban renewal agency minutes. 3.2A, the fiscal year 2022 urban renewal agency of the City of Salem budget. And 3.3C, appointments and reappointments to the Downtown Advisory Board and West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Okay, discussion. With the recorder, would please call a roll.
Board Member Lewis.
Aye.
Board Member Stapleton, absent. Board Member Anderson.
Aye.
Board Member Phillips.
Aye.
Board Member Leung.
Aye.
Board Member Gonzalez, absent. Board Member Hoy.
Aye.
Board Member Nordyke.
Aye.
Chair Bennett.
Aye. Good. I don't see any public hearings, so I'm going to move to special orders of business. Councilor Lewis, 3.3A.
Yes, I move staff recommendation on
agenda item 3.3A.
Second.
Second.
Second by Hoy. Councillor Lewis.
And if I could, thank you, Mr. Mayor, just real quickly, anytime that you have this type of potential improvements in a downtown, it's significant, and I believe it's noteworthy and needs discussion or at least commenting on. This is an exciting time for Salem. You know, the Nordstrom building, although we are not going to be reusing it, like we heard last week about the 3 Rs, we are going to be doing something potentially greater for the city and for the residents. And so I think that's noteworthy, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Great, thank you. Ms. Rutherford, do you want to kind of expand on Councillor Lewis's thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We actually have 2 developments before you this evening with exception request to our standard urban renewal capital grant program, both for significant investment and redevelopment downtown. The agenda item we're talking about right now is for the redevelopment of the Nordstrom building. We do have, for both of these projects, representatives from the companies joining us at the meeting. If you want to hear anything from them, have them speak about the projects themselves, they're available to do that.
Great. Why don't we start with 3.3A, since that's the item we're on, and who would be speaking on that?
We have Ryan from Deacon Construction.
Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of give us a little...
Hi, everybody. Sure. I'm with Deacon Development. We purchased the Nordstrom building almost 3 years ago. We originally thought it was going to be a retail project, but that quickly died, especially with the pandemic. So we had to pivot and rethink about, okay, you know, what can be successful here in downtown. You know, office is really hard. Retail is leaving downtown, you know, large retail. So we decided that, hey, let's start looking at multifamily, urban multifamily. So if I can share my screen, I'll share with you at least a conceptual site plan that we have. Hang on a second, bear with me. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So the plan is to demolish the Nordstrom building completely. We are talking with the mall owners right now as well, trying to coordinate that. The plan is to develop a 5-story urban multifamily building. The building would be up to the street, as you typically see in a lot of these mixed-use buildings. We would tuck the parking around the back so it's not visible from the street and isn't an eyesore. We can get about 30 stalls, and then the remainder of the parking would be utilized through either the existing garages or we're going to have bike rooms, so residents can store their bikes. If our anticipation is that the tenant profile is going to be a younger, you know, maybe more active tenant who would be more open to biking to and from work, wherever that may be. And then we're not so far from the bus mall either. Part of the project we're going to have in the lobby, it's called Transit Screen. And we did it in a project in Portland next to a MAX station. But it has on the TV screen in the lobby, it's got live bus schedules, live locations of all Ubers, Zip cars, And if Salem ever got like a shared biking, kind of like Nike Town has the shared bike system in Portland, it'll identify those locations as well. So when you're thinking about where you're going to go for the day and how you're going to get there, you can look at the screen and identify what's your most convenient option. What else? Ubers, Lyfts. It'll also identify Ubers and Lyfts and how far that pickup time would be. And then also, I think I mentioned the bus schedule. It's got the bus schedule in there as well. So, and it's all live, which is really neat. And then it also has an app on your phone. So if you didn't want to go to the lobby, you can get all that information live on your phone as well from your unit. So the intent is, yes, it's intended to be urban apartments, and we're pretty excited about it.
That's great. What's your timeline like, Ryan?
We're hoping to submit for permit before October 1.
Ah, so construction will be through the winter, fall, winter.
Yeah, let me pull up schedule here. I got a schedule I can zoom to for you. It's a little slow coming in. We're hoping to submit for land use review in a week or two.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we're working with Studio 3 Architects.
Okay.
There in Salem, and we're also working with West Tech Engineering for civil engineering, and KPFF is our structural engineer.
So you're looking
Sorry, my
at
computer's really slow right now.
April of 23 would be, you'd be starting to look at your completed building. Am I understanding that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ryan, for being here. I'm really excited to welcome this project to downtown. I think it's a great reuse of that space. I think I heard you mention that mixed use, and so I'm assuming that means on the ground floor there would be some sort of commercial. Do you have any sort of estimation on the size or the nature of that space, and maybe what kinds of businesses you'd be looking for? Any chance you'd be looking at maybe a grocery store or something like that? I don't know how big your space is. I don't know if that would even be appropriate, but just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it'll be a smaller retail space. And what we're hoping for is a restaurant or a coffee shop to make it an amenity. So you can, leave your room, head down the elevator, grab a coffee at the coffee shop, and then walk to work. I mean, that's kind of the idea behind it. We're a little hesitant to have a lot of commercial space on the ground floor. What we've experienced in Portland is there's a lot of vacant retail space all over town. And it's just, you can utilize it better. So we'd rather be specific with it. Like I said, we'll have probably one or two small retail tenants. Restaurant, coffee shop is what the desire is and what the goal is. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
Thank you. Just a follow-up. Could I follow up?
I'm sorry, Councilor Roy.
No problem. I was just curious, do you have any idea yet on, I noticed these are like studio and one-bedroom apartments geared towards a younger demographic. I'm wondering, do you have any idea what your targeting rent would be? What are we looking at? What's the range? I know I don't want to.
That's
down on that, but
fair. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, so for a studio, we're about $1,000 a month, and for a one-bedroom, we're about $1,300 a month. We have been talking with some economists who are maybe suggesting maybe we add in a couple 2-bedrooms or a few 2-bedrooms in there into the mix. So we're debating that right now as well. What else? Oh, I forgot to mention my favorite part of the project is we are putting a roof deck up on the top on the roof. So you'll have awesome views of downtown. You'll see the church, and then hopefully we can see the river too. So it'll be really nice. You know, nice fire pit, gas fire pit. You know, lounge seating, grill, so you can grill up there. Yeah, it'll be really nice.
Great. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much, Ryan. I really want to indicate how pleased I am with where you say the residents will be encouraged to use alternative modes of transportation. In fact, you're the second development we have downtown. There's one, the Coves Apartments, where we gave them a conditional use permit for we waived the parking requirements. May not have it technically right, but they don't need all the parking they would need for that size. And I don't know if you're at the stage yet where you have to look at that, but if there is some issue with how many spaces of parking you need, I'm sure that the staff and the council would be like potentially to work with you on using those.
Great, thank you. Councilor Nordyke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the two prior councilors asked the questions that I was going to ask.
Okay.
So I do have a couple of other thoughts, though. Number one, I think the rooftop deck is a great idea. I understand it's for residents and guests, so it's not as if we can all go down there and enjoy it. So that means I'm going to have to befriend somebody in that unit. And no, I totally get that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you're using every level of the building, including the rooftop. I would love to see more rooftop options. I know the new YMCA building is going to have a rooftop, and we'll be able to like call out at each other from across the buildings. I also appreciate, and then I do have a question. I do appreciate the fact that not only is bike storage included, it does not appear to be included as an afterthought by your materials. You say it'll have ample bike storage, a bike repair station, and even wash. So I appreciate you engaging all these green efforts and the fact that there's 32 parking spots, but what do the materials say? Over 162 market rate units. So I appreciate that. And I think people will be interested to see how successful that's going to be. I predict you may not even need all 32. I'm really excited to see that you guys have made that a priority. Will this entail demolition of the Sky Bridge between the old JCPenney and the Nordstrom? Or
it'll need to, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It'll need to.
No, I get that. I want to visualize it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We thought about can we reuse the Sky Bridge as a covered walkway to the parking garage? But we don't own the Sky Bridge. Technically, the mall owner owns the Sky Bridge. Mm-hmm. And it was just trying to line up the height of the Sky Bridge with the floor elevation of where the future apartment unit floor elevation was going to be, wasn't lining up. So we had to ditch that idea, unfortunately. So we are talking with the mall owners about how we're going to work together on the Sky Bridge and taking that down.
Understood. And one last question. I just want to confirm my understanding. So as I see it, it looks like according to our materials, 2.9% or just under 3% of the funding is going to come from public money. The rest you're going to get as a loan and as equity. So I just want to let the taxpayers know 3% of this is going to be taxpayer money. And I think people are always curious to know to what extent we are leveraging public dollars to advance housing that promotes public transit and bikes and things like that. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Lewis?
Yeah, Thanks, Ryan. But actually, I've got a question for Director Rutherford. It's my understanding what really makes downtowns, and Salem is, I think, almost there, but what makes them really jive is a local walkable grocery store. The only grocery store in close proximity to downtown Salem is Safeway, and that's not a local walkable store. So what can you tell us about a potential grocery store to go along with all these other exciting things?
Well, I can tell you, we talked to Market of Choice, we talked to Roth's, we talked to New Seasons, and we talked to Green Zebra. The problem is you have a catch-22. There isn't the tenant base or the resident base in downtown right now. So to put in a store with no residents, they're not going to do that. So it's almost, you got to build it, get people living downtown, and then a store is going to come in.
Yeah, Ryan's exactly right. We completed, contracted out a study, a grocery study, about 1.5 years before COVID. And at that time, we were just sort of right on the edge of having the numbers to support a downtown grocery store. And they recommended stores like Green Zebra or Market of Choice in that kind of study, kind of a smaller urban footprint. And then COVID happened, and a lot of things got delayed. And I think once we see 1 or 2 more residential projects come into the downtown, that's going to shift the dynamic and make it attractive for grocery operators. I would like to come back after I see a couple more questions, but I have a couple more comments when we're finished with questions.
Councilor Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I took off my headphones because I was dying out. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sticking my big mug right up here because that's the only way it seems to work. This is not questions, but it's some comments about, I'm going to, of course, vote yes on this. I think this is terrific for downtown housing, and I think it dovetails precisely with the climate action plan we have been working on. Councilor Nordyke and Councilor Gonzalez are on that task force with me and 35 other people. And one of the things we are trying to do as part of the climate action is obviously less dependence on single occupancy vehicle, more on multiple modes of transportation. And also we're trying to achieve higher density in a walkable neighborhood. And that fits every single one of these projects, one of these criteria. The other thing I want to say is we had an issue with giving about the same amount of money to another development downtown a few years ago. And at that point, that development only had to satisfy 1 of 7 or 8 criteria. And since then, the staff has changed it so there has to be 2 criteria, but actually 3 criteria that are met. And if you look on page 3 and page 4 of the report, they meet these criteria. So I think that's great. One of them was mixed use and housing, and the other is fix a blighted area. So I think it's done all the criteria, and I think it's great that we can expand the number of criteria that people have to meet and still have them met. So thank you, staff, for expanding the criteria, and thank you, Ryan, for showing up. And I look forward to making friends with somebody there, like Councilor Nordyke says, so we can get a view from the roof.
Yeah. We'll give you all a tour as it's going and when it's finished. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Right. Yeah, the market seems to be running ahead on you on this one, Tom. It's we're really seeing tremendous market activity that supports the kind of activity that the Climate Action Group apparently is working on. Kristen?
That's the best way to do it, Mr. Mayor. That's the best way to do it.
It certainly is. Maybe we'll think about that as we work our way through these issues.
So
Kristen?
my comments will apply to both of these projects. I won't need to say them again later. But both of these projects, are investments that were made before the pandemic. Where there was a project in mind at the time that they acquired these properties. I know with Ryan's project, the world turned upside down on them, and the project they had contemplated is not at all what they're doing. And I want to thank Deacon particularly because they have been so wonderful to work through this and have come to us repeatedly asking us, what would the city like to see here? You know, when you got trying to find a use to reuse a building like Nordstrom's or reuse Penny's is very, very, very challenging. And it's very challenging to try to put housing into a building like this. There are all sorts of issues, structural issues and other issues. You know, so to do something there was going to require demolition, and that it's very costly. It's very difficult to do a project like that in an urban environment next to a mall with sky bridges, and there's a tremendous amount of risk that they're taking on in doing that. But all along this path of developing this project, they've wanted to know what the city wants, what is important to us. And when we've said housing, when we've said sustainability, they've responded to that. So I wanted council to know that and just to share my appreciation for that.
Yeah, in behalf of all of us, Ryan, we're really pleased with that, watching you move forward on this. It's a tremendous project. Really happy that it's coming to fruition. It seemed like it was going to get real tough there for a while. So to see you all come up with such a really tremendous plan is very encouraging, not only for your portion of downtown, but I think for the rest of downtown, seeing this kind of a project come forward. I think it will inspire others. So keep us informed and understand how much we can support the work you're doing.
Will do. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and vote on this? If the recorder would please call the roll.
Board Member Stapleton, absent. Board Member Anderson.
Aye.
Board Member Phillips.
Aye.
Board Member Leung.
Aye.
Board Member Gonzalez, absent. Board Member Hoy.
Aye.
Board Member Nordike.
Aye.
Board Member Lewis.
Aye.
Chair Bennett.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Councilor Lewis, 3.3B.
Sure, I move staff recommendation on agenda item 3.3B.
Second.
And if I could, real briefly, because I think we've talked enough, but I did have a question on this one. It says on page 3 of 4 that this will decrease the capital improvement grant program from 2.15 million. I'm assuming that that number is based on the assumption that we would pass the first motion, which we just did. Okay. Which if I do my arithmetic correctly, and I'm doing it by hand, so don't hold me to it, but that leaves $1.4 million where we can continue to do good things in downtown. So we're not strapped. This is another example, and I can't remember who mentioned it, but the leverage. If this all works out, these two projects, we'll get $63 million, today's dollars, more or later, $63 million of improvements for $150,000 investment. That payoff will be tremendous when we start getting the taxes collected on that $63 million worth of value.
So not only do we have additional funds, we also have unallocated funds, and we've got resources to recapitalize this. Should there
Kristen, for the public who might be watching this and have no idea exactly what we're talking about, do you want to give us a kind of very quick picture of which project this is and where and what?
We also have a representative of Sturgeon Development. So we have Nick with us from Sturgeon Development, and he is available here to tell us a little bit about their hotel project.
Great. Nick, we're looking forward to hearing about this.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Nick Friddle. I'm with Sturgeon Development Partners. Vanessa Sturgeon was anticipating to be here as well. Unfortunately, she's had an emergency come up, so she's not going to be able to be here. So you're stuck with the B team. I'm going to do my best. But yeah, so we are currently in for permit to develop a 129 key Hilton Tapestry Hotel. Right in downtown, across the street from the convention center. We anticipate breaking ground late July, early August of this year. So we're right on the cusp. We're finalizing our pricing and getting construction contracts ready to go. And we're really excited about this project. We acquired the site in 2019 and immediately started working on a hotel concept and interviewed multiple different hotel brands and discussed internally about keeping it unbranded or unflagged and doing a boutique hotel. We ended up choosing the Tapestry line from Hilton because they do allow more flexibility in the branding and allow the developer to kind of make it a boutique style hotel, but also retain the power of the Hilton reservation system and branding, and also the Hilton reward points. And so that really kind of gave us the best of both worlds. And so I do have some renderings I can share with you if you'd like today, if I can share my screen and we can flip through a few of those.
Great. A similar question I asked the previous speaker was sort of, when do you see this opening? What are our dates looking like at this point?
1 second, let me share this. Yeah, good question. So if we start this summer, we will be open towards the end of 22, early 2023. It's about an 18-month construction period.
Great.
So similar to the multifamily industry, the hospitality industry, of course, was hit extremely hard with COVID. Luckily we were still in the planning stages, and so we were able to kind of use that time to get through all of our drawings and work with the city and get our permit application submitted. And we've received a couple of rounds of comments from the city, and we reside and do a lot of our work in Portland. And I can tell you, working with the city of Salem has been a breath of fresh air. So we really appreciate that and the work that you all have done. So here is a rendering of the building, the east elevation looking west. Another couple. I'll just flip through some of these renderings here, and then I've got some interior kind of renderings as well. So this would be kind of the front door, loading area right here. And then kind of the floor plan. So here was the loading area on the east side, and then wrapping around and then accessing the parking through the alley. And then we do have like 1.5 levels of parking above grade within the structure. And so we'll have a restaurant kind of in this northeast corner here. And we're still discussing different concepts and different operators for what that restaurant will look like when it's built out, and the fare and the cuisine and that sort of thing. The hotel lobby will be located right here with the front door here. Again, the loading area. A nice little library sitting area, open lobby, some conference facilities down on the first floor here. We do have a pre-function space and a break room so this is kind of the back of the house here, break room for the employees, our elevator core, and then parking on the next level, some parking on the next level, and some guest rooms. We have between 25 and 30% of the guest rooms are going to be extended stay. So we'll have kitchenettes in there and kind of designed for that longer term stay. We'll have a nice boardroom at the top of the building with some outdoor space. Some of this outdoor space will be accessible from what we're calling the hospitality suites. So there'll be 2 suites at the top that you can rent out nightly that will have access to this outdoor deck, and then also a boardroom that'll have access to the deck as well. So that can be rented out for office meetings and that sort of thing. And then let me pull up we've got a couple renderings here, and some of these renderings, as far as like the paintings and that sort of thing, they're all preliminary at this point. Kind of our architect kind of filled it up, but what we're focused on from a branding standpoint at this time is kind of focusing on the agricultural and industry nature of the city, kind of focusing on the wine country and that sort of thing. So you'll see a lot of kind of images of wine and countryside and that kind of sprinkled throughout. So this is kind of the main lobby at the entry. This is the library kind of sitting area that I had showed. That's kind of on the south side. Again, the library looking, what would that be? Looking east. Conference and pre-function area. And so conference rooms over here. And then one of the standard rooms, so standard king room. Another shot of that. A couple different design options. Standard queen room. Here's the extended stay, so queen. So you've got the kind of kitchenette off to the left here. And you can see like a bedroom in the back, and then a nice sitting area out in the front, and then a nice little restroom. And this is kind of an open design, no kind of closing doors to the bedrooms. And that's so that's kind of an overview of the product and the program. We are working with LMC on the construction side, and TVA Architects for the design. For an operator, so it's a Hilton branded hotel, but we're having Coast Hotels as the actual operator. So it's a franchise agreement that we have with Hilton, and the team that's going to be spearheading that is the GM currently is running the Benson Hotel in Portland, and so we'll have they're well versed in hospitality and kind of high-end service and that sort of thing. So we're excited about the full team, and I think we're going to hit the market really well on this when we deliver. And call it early 2023. The hospitality industry is coming back, and we feel like we're gonna hit it in stride.
It's great. It's really great news too. I think as we're coming out of the pandemic, to have such a tremendously positive new substantial project coming into our community in the hospitality industry is just a real shot in the arm for all of us. So thank you very much. This is really great. We all hate giving up the Marion Street garage, but it's really nice to see something this spectacular taking its place. So thank you again. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Mayor. And you had asked a question earlier, and I'm not sure if we got a full answer, but I think for the public watching, why, Director Rethford, can you help educate us? Why would we invest in a hotel? How would we expect to see us recoup public dollars investing in a hotel for people who are here on a temporary basis? What are your expectations in terms of the city recouping its investment?
So we're recouping in a few different ways. So first is a significant financial investment. This is a property that will be coming on the tax rolls, and that tax revenue for the life of the urban renewal area will flow into the urban renewal area to help us with other urban renewal projects. And then when that area terminates, that's a significant amount of tax revenue that will be available for the city's general fund. So that's one reason. Second is the employment that it will offer. Hotels are pretty large employers. Third is we have known for quite some time that we have needed an additional hotel in our downtown core. When people come for conventions right now, those rooms at the convention center fill up very quickly. People end up having to stay down at the freeway. And when that happens, our downtown businesses lose out. If you're staying downtown, you're going to go bar hopping. You're going to go out to dinner. You're going to do all those things downtown. If you're driving or taking a shuttle after a conference out to the freeway, that's where you're going to stay. So it's going to be a huge benefit to our downtown businesses to be having all of these additional people coming in for conventions or just for tourism or business trade and staying downtown and supporting our downtown businesses.
Thank you.
Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Patel, for bringing this project to us tonight. I'm really excited about it. that particular property has been sort of needing some attention for a long time. It's really exciting to see this come down and really revitalize that part of downtown across from our convention center. You mentioned this is sort of a higher end property. Can you give us an idea of the price point of what a typical room might cost for a hotel? Yeah,
no, absolutely. I think right now we're anticipating when we open in 2023 that the average rate would be around $185 a night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Is there anything further? Ms. Rutherford, did you have anything? You brought us such great news tonight. Got anything else up your sleeve? This is.
I see Councilor Lewis.
I see Councilor Lewis wants to.
Yeah, I follow up on Councilor Nordike's question, and I don't know if you've taken a pencil to it, yes, but when would you anticipate getting the $750,000 back, and after that, how much would you be getting, let's say, a year?
So as a requirement, one of the grant criteria that we added for exceptions like this is that the amount of the grant would be paid back within a 7 to 10 year time frame based on increases in tax revenue. So it'll definitely be within that window. I think in this case, it's probably going to be more likely in a 5-year range. So sooner than most projects. They're making a very substantial investment.
And that income, of course, continues after that 5 to 7 years.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Call that gravy.
At that 3% a year.
Very good.
Yes. So the only other thing I was going to say is, again, to thank our development partners here. They stuck with this through some pretty shaky times, and they were committed to the project and committed to Salem, and we're going to have a fabulous downtown amenity, with not maybe a rooftop that people can visit, but definitely amenities for the community as well.
Yeah, this really, I hope, answers a lot of the concerns people often have as they watch a 50-year-old downtown begin going through the transition to become a more modern place. And we're seeing it really happening here. It's very exciting. I remember watching it turn over to the downtown we're now leaving. So which was also an exciting time. This is really great. I really appreciate you bringing the developers in and talking with us about these programs. These are very exciting, and the council's been doing a bang-up job supporting these. I hope we can continue down that road. This is great stuff. So thank you, Kristen, very much.
And as our developers mentioned, we hear this from a lot of developers that come from other areas and work in Salem. They have enjoyed working with our planning department. We have a lot less red tape than other jurisdictions that they've worked in. So just a shout out to, I get to come forward and share all the good news, but there's a whole lot of work that planning and public works does, and they don't get to come forward and share in all of this. So, but they're very important parts of it.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And why don't we go ahead and the recorder, please call a roll.
Board Member Anderson.
Aye.
Board Member Phillips.
Aye.
Board Member Leung.
Aye.
Board Member Gonzalez, absent. Board Member Hoy.
Aye.
Board Member Nordike.
Aye.
Board Member Lewis.
Aye.
Board Member Stapleton, absent. Chair Bennett.
Aye. Motion passes, and we'll then, let's see, am I right? We'll move forward then to information reports. Is someone going to take us quickly down this Portland Road sewer line replacement project? Is there anything we need to know on that this evening?
Just very briefly, this is a project that we've already completed. It was necessary to be able to use that Portland Road site as an interim shelter. So we moved forward with it, and now we're coming back and finalizing the financial end of it.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the report on that. I don't see any further business, so I'm going to adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency. Give me just a second to flip my computer here. and call to order the June 28th meeting of the Salem City Council. Would the recorder please call a roll?
Counselor excuse me, Counselor Stapleton, absent. Counselor Anderson,
I'm here.
Counselor Phillips,
Here.
Counselor Leung,
Here.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy,
Here.
Counselor Nordike,
Here.
Counselor Lewis,
Here.
Mayor Bennett.
Here. Any additions or deletions, Councillor Hoy?
No, but I would like to note that we do have guest counselor Paul Tigan for Ward 1 this evening.
Where is Paul? There he is.
Good evening, everybody. Happy to be back to at least be here while the budget gets carried across the finish line.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we have opportunity for members of the council to comment. Besides how hot it is, anything else going on out there? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I have 3 comments. 2 of them are pretty short, and the first one relates to how hot it is. We've got 4th of July coming up this weekend.
How hot is it, Councillor Anderson?
Yeah. It's hot enough. We've got but I'm still wearing my bow tie. We've got 4th of July coming up this weekend. People want to show their patriotism by setting off fireworks. I note that this, and that's extremely dangerous in this dryness and this heat. I note that the city of Bend has banned fireworks for the 4th of July this time, and I don't know if that's anything that the city manager and fire chief and the police have any authority over. But I would sure urge people to not use fireworks. Especially go to the fireworks shows that I think we're still having, but don't set them off in your backyard. Don't set them off in your neighbor's backyard. Don't set them off in the parks, because it's only gonna lead to trouble. So please show your patriotism some other way. Next short item is that tonight is, and I don't know if the city manager will speak about this, I'm sure he will. Tonight is the last night of our Chief Financial Officer, Bob Barron, who is returning to Connecticut for family and personal reasons. And I already thanked him earlier today in the Finance Committee meeting. But I want to thank you, Mr. Barron, for the good work you put in for the city. We're going to miss you, and your time was all too short, but we appreciate what you did for us while you were here. The last thing relates basically, I think, kind of to the heat and the homelessness. There's been all sorts of stuff on social media about how the city is destroying water, their kiddie pools that were taken away, and the city has done all this stuff. I would really advise people who are looking at social media to not believe these facts without actually doing some research of their own. None of this has happened. But we're getting emails from everybody saying, how could you do this? How could you do this? Well, the thing is, we didn't do it. And I spoke to the city manager earlier today and asked him to speak to what the city has been doing, which is a whole lot, and what it hasn't been doing, which is none of the horrible things that people out there on the blogosphere are accusing us of doing. So don't set off fireworks. Don't believe everything you read in the blogosphere. And thank you, Bob Barron.
Yeah. You know, the one thing about the emails we've received, they've actually been not a whole bunch of them. Really clearly, the 170,000 people that live here are not nearly as gullible as the 20 that sent the emails to us. So hopefully folks will kind of wake up. Any other comments? Councillor Lewis?
Yes, I'm glad we're all sitting down. I don't remember if I've ever agreed with Councillor Anderson on 3 separate issues, but I'm going to agree with him on all 3 tonight. We can show patriotism in many, many ways. Lighting fires is not one of them this year, please. And I couldn't agree more on the social media. I don't know if it's 20 or 12 folks. I'm not sure why they say the things that they do, but I couldn't agree more. If you hear something that just sounds unbelievable, check it out. And I too want to thank Mr. Barron for his help, his time here in Salem. And I want to give him one last chance after the events of this weekend in Fenway Park. It's, you know, you still have a chance to be a Red Sox fan, Bob.
Come on, Bob. It's your last chance, man.
One would never forgive me, Yankees.
Councilor Nordike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just make sure I'm okay. Great, I'm off mute. So a few things. One, on the fireworks topic, you know, I've thought about this myself, and there are a lot of challenges with even, you know, I tried to think about what the logistics would be in even attempting canceling of fireworks. First of all, the city has already canceled its fireworks show because of COVID concerns, which also means the single largest display in the area by any stretch of the imagination is not happening. So, you know, I can do damage with a sparkler and did do damage with a sparkler as a little girl, but that's a tale for another day. And don't worry, I didn't burn down the house. My mother would never have forgiven me. But the other thing is two things. One, enforcement action. I think Councillor Phillips can tell you, I asked him once, you know, what's your busiest day in the ER? And I think Councillor Phillips, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said 4th of July was actually one of the busiest times of year in your emergency room. And I mention that because on the 4th of July, we've got people partying, we've got people drinking, we've got people doing things that require our first responders' time. So even if we were to attempt a ban on fireworks, I think that our first responders would want to triage and responding to 911 calls with people who have a finger blown off and people who are drinking and driving. And unfortunately, all the other things that accompany major holidays, I would worry about what our ability would be to even enforce such a ban. And secondly, within driving distance, within minutes of Salem are several small towns. So even if we were to ban, even if, which is a huge if, even if we were to ban fireworks within this city or ban the sale of fireworks within this city, I'm sure Monmouth, Independence, Silverton, Aurora, Woodburn would be more than happy to take their business and just buy fireworks there and then shoot them off wherever. So I see a lot of complications with the concept of even attempting a ban on fireworks, especially on such short notice. So I echo the comments that, yeah, you need to be safe and be reasonable with the fireworks if you are gonna light them off. Don't do what I did and light the shrubbery on fire. A couple other things. One, I was proud to work behind the scenes to support a Pride rally. As we all know, Pride Month is the month of June every year. We had hundreds of people sign up for that event, and it was just a beautiful opportunity down at Riverfront Park. Everyone enjoyed themselves. It was a warm and inclusive event. And I know that Capitol Pride is working on organizing a Pride event this August. So stay tuned and please come out and show your support for our community. Next, like probably multiple counselors, I worked behind the scenes to encourage the opening of as many cooling centers as possible and to boost the signal of all of the outreach efforts behind this heat wave. And I want to thank the city staff for all that they've done to not only to coordinate with the local churches and nonprofit organizations and to have emergency preparedness staff checking in with the cooling centers, with the 911 calls, the nonprofits and so on. But we also had several splash fountains open, and we just did a lot in that regard to assist folks. The other thing I would point out, which I don't think most people know about because they don't tune into the Salem Housing Authority meetings very often, but the Salem Housing Authority, we have hundreds of people who are in public housing. And that includes a lot of vulnerable folks with medical conditions or advanced age or both. And so Nicole Utz, our administrator for Salem Housing Authority, said that we have staff working around the clock, working overtime to help our low-income seniors right now to make sure that their air conditioning units are in good working order and other cooling type apparatuses. So I know that this is a really tough time for folks, but I'm assuming there will be an opportunity tonight to hear from the city manager, perhaps Chief Niblock or other emergency preparedness, because I'd like to do more about what the city has done to respond to this heat wave. And I would also, my plan is to take a look at our emergency preparedness manual and see, does it cover specifically how to assist the unsheltered in the middle of a heat wave or an ice storm? Because I know our emergency preparedness manual is from 2014. We have more homeless now than we did in 2014. So if they're not specifically identified as a population to assist, that's something I would like to look into and make sure that we're really following best practices when it comes to responding to heat waves, responding to ice storms, responding to wildfire smoke, and literally everything else that has happened within the span of the last 6 months, which is crazy, but perhaps not completely unsurprising. So the goal is for us to all be prepared. And I will say that sometimes folks are so busy focused on doing something that they're not busy posting about the fact that they're doing something. And one of the things I've learned about city staff since I came into city council is they're not good about bragging what they do as their job. A lot of them work with the unsheltered as their job. They work with people struggling as their job, and you're not going to see them posting about it on Facebook. So a lot of their effort goes unnoticed. So anyway, I just want to make that final comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Councilor Phillips? You're on mute right now. There we go.
That's what happens when you're operating on 4 hours of sleep.
That's
okay.
right.
So I've got 3 things I'd like to say tonight. First, I'm really excited to introduce a city council resolution declaring healthcare a fundamental right at our next city council meeting on July 12th. If I've learned anything as an emergency room doctor practicing during the COVID-19 global pandemic and seeing the real world impacts on our community from the regional forest fires in the fall, the ice storms this winter, and the deadly heat wave that we're currently living through, it's obvious to me that everyone should have health care. I think that it's really important that we make this declaration as a city. Okay, second point. We, as a region, are remarkably close to achieving the 70% mark for at least partially vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. This is an important mark that helps decrease the transmission of the virus. And it's true now that a majority of Oregonians, regardless of age, are fully vaccinated, nearly 53%. And recent data has shown that among current deaths from COVID-19 and current hospitalizations, over 99% are amongst the unvaccinated. And with the spread of new strains like the Delta variant of COVID-19, which is much more transmissible and likely more dangerous, now is the best time to get protected from this deadly virus with these safe and effective vaccines. So please, if you haven't already, get vaccinated. Getting vaccinated could literally save your life and the life of a loved one. Third, and finally, a little bit unplanned for today, as a result of the last 72 hours and practicing, this weekend on shift as the senior doctor Saturday afternoon, I just have to say it. We are living through the consequences of climate disruption right now. We've experienced 3 days in a row where temperatures are over 105 at their height. And we've had 2 days in a row where we've broken the all-time heat record in Salem. It was 113 yesterday and then 117 today. There are real consequences to these dangerous and chaotic events. People in our community have died as a direct result of the heat this weekend. This is our reality, and we need to acknowledge it if we are to have any hope at meeting the task in front of us. It's going to take more time, continued time and continued work, difficult conversations about unpopular topics, but lives are counting on the work that we do here and at all levels throughout our community. There absolutely is hope. There are ways we can make a difference. And I'm really grateful for the ongoing work from the Salem Climate Action Plan Task Force. I look forward to working with community members to make a real difference. Finally, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our first responders and everyone working on the front lines of healthcare during this deadly heat wave. I got to see the team of real-life superheroes that I work with at the Salem Hospital Emergency Room step up and save countless lives this past weekend. And thank you to everyone who stepped up to volunteer this weekend at a cooling center or to check in with a family member, friend, or neighbor. Your actions mattered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mayor Bennett. Thank you, councilors. I would like to expand on a couple of the questions, a couple of the topics that have already been mentioned, and also update council on a couple of others. I do want to assure council and the community that we continue our work even during this extreme heat. We continue our work with our outreach partners to assist individuals with alternatives to sheltering on sidewalks or in our parks. We are continuing our efforts at both Cascade, Gateway, and Wallace Marine, and we're examining each park very deliberately based upon criteria, including community need, camper need, especially during this extreme heat, and the city's operational capacity. We are also working on opening additional managed shelter locations. We are working with Church at the Park on alternative locations for their work. We have 2 sites scheduled to open as early as July 19th. I have signed the emergency order allowing existing safe park locations to help more people if the sites can accommodate additional vehicles. Upon closer analysis of the soon-to-be vacated UGM shelter by homeless, fire, and building code staff, the city will not be proceeding with that planned shelter use. The current Union Gospel Mission, the site at 345 Commercial Street, not their new, much expanded shelter, which is on schedule to open very soon, that current shelter is just not cost effective, especially for the limited time that we were looking at operating it. It just doesn't pencil. The funds that have been approved by council or will be approved tonight, hopefully, will be directed to other sites, to other sheltering needs, transitional sheltering, safe parking, outdoor managed shelter locations. On the extreme heat, yes, due to the extreme heat, today's outdoor youth recreation programs were canceled. Thanks to the coordination of the city emergency preparedness staff, Chief Niblock, Greg Walsh, and even more importantly, though, the great work of churches and nonprofit organizations. 7 cooling centers were available starting Saturday. Yesterday, our staff checked in with the cooling centers, monitored 911 calls, checked in with the nonprofits and Marion County on capacity and need. Thanks to Mike Niblock's work, we did have the Jackman Long building at the State Fairgrounds available as a backup, a building that can accommodate 500. We ended up with our partners serving 450 people needing relief from the heat. And thank you, councilors, for the rebuttal on some of the rumors that were circulating today. There were no city directives to in any way interfere with volunteer efforts to assist our unsheltered residents, our unsheltered neighbors. As has been pointed out, these are extraordinary times, and we are not in any way directing that small steps of relief, of compassion, of assistance be stopped by city staff. On reopening, we also have that going on. It has been extremely busy, not only 6 months, but 6 weeks and even 6 days. This past Friday, Governor Kate Brown signed in a recovery-focused emergency order lifting all remaining COVID-19 health and safety restrictions. Restrictions will be lifted on June 30th, or when we hit 70% vaccination rate, or whichever one comes first. We are anxious to reopen our doors. We are anxious to join the state in helping Oregonians and our community recover from the impacts and the economic toll of the pandemic. We will be reopening all of our doors by July 19th. Most of the city's employees worked in person during the pandemic, keeping our critical operations going: police, fire, public works, a long list. Other employees have worked remotely, adapting their homes to make room for important city business. I thank them for their flexibility and their dedication to continuing our excellence in public service. To support many of our customers, including probably several that you heard from this evening already, we will be continuing our digital practices, our electronic practices. Those will stay in place. We understand very clearly the interest in the library and Center 50 Plus, and we are finalizing plans to expedite expanded services at these vital community resources. Also, there are plans underway for community reopening celebrations in September. And we are working on having council chambers be ready for your return no later than the July 26th council meeting.
Very good. Very good.
Couple others, if I may, quickly. The legislature, we did pretty well with the state legislature this year. We are confident that the city and other service providers in our area will be receiving some considerable financial assistance. I think the legislature recognized that the impacts of state and federal policies and laws are really felt at the local level. And the state funding will help us with those needs and will help stretch city funds for those same critical needs. It's really an opportunity for a financial partnership. We are re-reviewing the bills that pertain to city priorities and the appropriations bill, and a full report will be provided to the council legislative committee and city council. And thank you, finally, thank you, councilors, for your comments regarding Robert Barron. Tonight is Bob's final Salem City Council meeting. He's moving back to Connecticut to be a Yankees fan. Personal and professional reasons have caused him to make that difficult decision. Bob did a great job strengthening the city's budget, financial, fiscal policies and procedures, and he will be missed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to move us then. Have no public comment on issues on the agenda, so it's a consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move approval of the consent calendar with the exception of items 3.3I, pulled by Councilor Lewis, and 3.3J, pulled by Councilor Young.
Very good. Second, I'll second it. Let's go.
Thank you. That leaves us with 3.1A, the June 14, 2021 draft city council minutes, 3.1B, June 21st, 2021 draft city council work session minutes on solid waste, 3.1C, June 21st, 2021 draft city council work session minutes on middle housing, 3.2A, adoption of the fiscal year 2022 City of Salem budget, item 3.2B, state shared revenues, item 3.3A, ratification of the Second Amendment to the purchase and sale agreement with H.D. Fowler Company, Inc. for the city-owned land at Salem Business Campus. Item 3.3B, intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon to allow the state non-exclusive use of city's optical fiber network. Item 3.3C, sale of 4.65 acres of land at Salem Business Campus to Rick Bush. Item 3.3D, ratification of the Fourth Amendment to the purchase and sale agreement with Tina's Touch Up, Inc. for city-owned land at the Salem Business Campus to extend the closing date. Item 3.3E, amendments to the intergovernmental agreements with East Salem Service District and LaBiche Village Sewer and Drainage District to extend the term of the agreements. Item 3.3F, intergovernmental agreement with Marion County for city support provided in response to the Beachy Creek wildfire and straight line winds emergency events. Item 3.3G, reappointment of Deborah Wilson as municipal court judge. Item 3.3H, capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2026. Item 3.3K, appointments and reappointments to the Downtown Advisory Board and West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Good. Thank you very much. Any discussion on those items? Councilor Nordyke.
Yes, I'd like to declare once again a potential conflict of interest in regards to the capital improvement plan, given that my family owns property within the city of Salem. Thank you.
Okay. Tigan, do I see your hand up?
You do, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to acknowledge the work of the Budget Committee, since we'll looks like you'll be approving the budget through the consent calendar. I really want to, on behalf of the other citizen members of the Budget Committee, thank you for your work. I guess I'd just like to say that in the time that I've been on the Budget Committee, this was by far the most robust conversation and probably the most amount of work that the committee had done on behalf of amending what the staff worked so hard to bring to the committee. And so I'd just like to acknowledge that good work. And I really feel like the committee did a really great job putting together a budget that addressed the pressing issues before the city. So thank you. And on behalf of the Budget Committee members, thanks to the council for considering it tonight.
Thank you, Paul. Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge Mr. Tigan's work as our Budget Committee Chair. I think he's been a remarkable chair. I was really pleased to renominate him again this year. He runs a very robust meeting with, I think, where everybody has the opportunity to be heard and where the issues are discussed to their fullest. And I think he's just been a great, great addition to our Budget Committee. I really appreciate your work as our chair, Paul. Thank you.
I think we all feel that way. You did a great job, Paul. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, if the recorder would please call a roll.
Counselor Lewis,
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton, absent. Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Leung,
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy,
Aye.
Counselor Nordyke,
Aye.
Mayor Bennett.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. We'll go then to public hearings. We'll begin with our first public hearing. If the recorder would go ahead on this.
The Salem City Council will now hold a public hearing regarding the vacation of an alley and a portion of an unopened right-of-way for 12th Street Northeast, adjacent to the railroad northeast of D Street Northeast. The applicable criteria is SRC 255.065B7. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria which the person believes to apply to the decision. The failure to raise an issue accompanied by the statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue shall preclude appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will be conducted with the staff presentation first, followed by testimony from the following. The applicant is limited to 15 minutes. Neighborhood associations limited to 5 minutes. Other interested persons are limited to 3 minutes. Applicant's rebuttal is limited to 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And staff, Anthony, are you?
Good evening. Let me just go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good evening. My name is Anthony Gamalo, and I'm the Senior Transportation Planner with the Public Works Department. I would like to enter the staff report into the record. This is a public hearing to consider a petition to vacate a portion of an alley end of the 12th Street Northeast right-of-way along the railroad northeast of D Street Northeast. The area to be vacated is adjacent to property owned by the Salem Kaiser School District. The subject property is located in Ward 1 in the Grant Neighborhood Association. You can see it here on the area map. It's just north of North Salem High School and Parish Middle School, and just west of the railroad. Here's another look. Okay, there we go. This is the area to be vacated. You can see the alley sort of running here, and it's running from the middle of the block to this is 12th Street Northeast right of way, and you can see the 12th Street Northeast right of way running parallel to the railroad. The school district is constructing tennis courts at this location. The areas proposed for vacation have not been used for transportation, but there are utilities located at the site. There's a 21-inch storm drain running along the 12th Street right-of-way. And there is an 8-inch sewer line under the alley portion right here. Only this area under the 21-inch storm line will require an easement as the sewer line is being abandoned, and an easement will no longer be necessary in the area. Here's a recent aerial image of the site. The city did grant the school district a revocable license to encroach into public right-of-way in August 2020. So work on the tennis courts could proceed while this vacation is being processed. You can see the orientation of the easement area just off to the east edge of the tennis courts. Finally, staff recommendation is to approve the vacation subject to the condition to provide the easement for utilities over the former 12th Street right-of-way, and to pay an assessment of special benefit in the amount of $27,231. Thank you, and I can take any questions, and I know there's testimony also.
Yeah, why don't we move ahead with testimony, and we'll come back to you, Anthony, if there's any questions.
Thank you.
Council. Thank you. Mr. Shipman, you're representing the applicant.
I am Mayor Bennett. Good evening, and members of the council. For the record, my name is Mark Shipman. I'm a land use attorney with Southfield Griggs, 250 Church Street, Southeast, Suite 200, Salem, Oregon 97301. Here this evening on behalf of the Salem Kaiser School District. Also here with me this evening is Joel Smallwood. Joel is the Director of Maintenance and Constructive Services for the district. I have some brief remarks, and then Joel signed up to testify. And Joel's going to speak specifically with respect to our request for the waiver of special benefits in this case. Turning to the staff report, we agree with staff that you should approve the vacation of the alley and unopened right-of-way of 12th Street. We also agree on providing the easement for the construction, maintenance, or replacement for the 21-inch storm line. This is a basic right-of-way application request for the renovation of North Salem High School as a part of the 2019 bond work. The applicant currently meets the mandatory approval criteria, and we'd recommend that you approve it. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Joel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I'm Joel Smallwood, Director of Maintenance and Construction, as Mark mentioned. Thank you for having me here, councilors and Mayor Bennett. First of all, I'd like to once again thank you for your consideration of this vacation request to serve North Salem High School and provide tennis courts. This area will also be used by Parish Middle School for PE and other functions that the middle school will have there. The district, as Mark mentioned, is in agreement with city staff recommendations around the process of vacating this land and around the easement. We have already started the process of getting that put together. So when we do get through with this, we're ready to get that easement in place. However, we would like to ask the council to consider to take special consideration on our request to waive the $27,000 fee based on that this is a property that is used for public education for students from our district, from our community, and will serve tens of thousands of students over decades to come. So we do ask that council consider our previous request for that, and we will take, whatever your decision is, we will move forward with a smile and we'll finish this process. So that's all I have.
Just a quick comment. It's a beautiful project. How often will that be open to the public for the neighbors or the members of the public in the city to use it in consideration of that waiver or of that fee?
Yeah, great question, Mayor Bennett. So in general, our properties, of course, are closed to the public during school hours when school is in session. That's just for safety and security reasons. We try to keep people off of our properties. As far as after hours use and weekend use, when it's small groups, unorganized groups of people, they're just a couple of people out having fun somewhere. We generally try to allow that. We do protect some of our specialized surfaces a little better. So our tracks, our synthetic turf fields, our tennis courts, they're high dollar finishes on the ground that can be destroyed really easily. So we do have a process that we generally ask people to go through for approval to use those spaces. If they're using it for organized activities, a youth sports, whether that be organized through the city or through the Y or some other group, we certainly have a process for them to go through. Most of those youth organizations, get the use of our properties at either very reduced or zero fee on these things. So it would be available, but certainly wouldn't just be wide open for anybody to come on, mostly because of the vandalism issue.
Will you, Joel, pretty much assure us that there'll be a clear posting at those, at the tennis court entrance on how to gain access to that for members of the public that would be interested? I've had a number of folks, I live fairly close to those, and I've had a number of folks comment on how excited they are about the opportunity to get to play tennis on them, and I know there'll be interest.
Yeah.
Will it be pretty straightforward and easy for people to sign up?
Yeah, absolutely. We have signs that we put on many of our properties now that direct people to our rentals department, as we call it, but our property services department has phone number and email and all that. So absolutely, there's clear messaging that will attach there.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Hoy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'm a little bit surprised to hear that they'll be available to the public through some process, because I'm not aware of that currently on any of the facilities, just for a member of the public to go use any of the school district properties that are closed off. And that's what brings me to my concern. As I understand, the Salem-Keizer School District's budget is about $1.5 billion in rough numbers. And you're asking us to essentially give you $20-some thousand worth of public assets, and you're not going to let the public use it. And I don't understand that request. And the $21,000 is neither here nor there at this point. But what I really don't appreciate is the closing off of our school facilities as parts of our neighborhoods, part of our community. And frankly, people are excluded from them. And I'm not sure that your characterization of access to those facilities really translates to everyday life for my neighbors and for me when we want to use the school district facilities. So I very much support giving you this, the ability to have this easement to establish the tennis courts, but I cannot support the waiver of the fee. And so I don't know if you have any comments on that. That's more of a statement than a question, I guess.
Yeah, well, real briefly, just on the public access, there is certainly a process to go through. We don't leave the gates open and the lights on. There's not lights on these tennis courts, but we certainly don't just leave our high dollar surfaces open to the public to come onto. So you're absolutely correct. I want to be transparent about that it is a process to get approval to use something like this. That process is available, but it's definitely not wide open. These courts and these football fields, these tracks are hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they can be destroyed in 15 minutes. So we do protect them, protecting the public's money, because all of this is being paid for by the public. The $27,000, you're correct. Overall in our budget, it's a drop in the bucket. It is the public's dollars. These bond dollars are being paid by members of our community who passed the bond in 2018 that even makes this project possible. So in essence, it's us collecting the public's dollars and handing them to another public agency, which we will certainly do if that's the decision of the council.
Right. Thank you. Councilor Nordyke, did you?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. I think Councilor Hoy raises an excellent point, and you mentioned something about how people could apply to use this space, and can you tell me a little bit more about that? I'm trying to give you one more chance to explain why we should give you the $20,000 waiver. I'll make sure I'm understanding correctly. What is this application process? Is it widely known? I don't know, a group of young people who has no idea how to approach city government or know the difference between city land, state land, public transit land, county land, or in school district land? How would they even know to go about requesting that for their own community gatherings?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for the opportunity to help you through that. So we do put signage on all of our sites that explains how to, who to contact and how to get through to the right folks to get that process started. There is an application if it's an organized event, especially if it's something where there's expecting large crowds. There sometimes are costs associated with those things around security, cleanup. Depends on what they're doing. We have people use our buildings all the time. For the last year and a half with COVID, we've had very little public use. Most of our buildings and sites have been closed, much like much of the city property. So the process is an application. It is available, in paper and online, and we go through that approval process. It is a scheduling deal. We certainly keep our properties. We schedule ourselves first. So if we have a tennis team, we're not going to schedule the public to use the tennis courts instead of our team using it for practice. So we do serve our students first with our spaces, and then we do allow outside use of the buildings. Now we run that through our property services department, and some of the stuff, especially in high schools, inside the building goes directly through the school.
Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Mr. Smallwood, but I've got to follow up on that because I understand that you've even excluded our neighborhood associations from using your buildings over the past couple of years. I've got two of my neighborhood associations who had to scramble to find new meeting places because they were formerly meeting in your buildings, and that's no longer available to them. So I'm not sure how people would go through a process to use tennis courts occasionally when we can't even figure out how to get our neighborhood associations to use buildings that we've been using for years. So
yeah, I'm not directly involved with the rental and lease process of our buildings, but I can tell you nobody's used our buildings since I think it was March 13th of 2020 when COVID sent us home for 2 weeks from school, which turned into 18 months or 15 months. So no one was using our buildings. So I'm not sure if that's the time frame you're talking about or if it's previous to that.
It predated.
And longer.
Okay. Yeah, I will certainly ask the right people the right questions. I'm not, like I say, intimately involved with those approvals or denials.
That'd be great.
We'll be answering the same questions.
For sounding kind of harsh, but
no, it's all good.
The city, we're partners, and at least I've always felt like we were.
Yeah.
But the last few years, it's felt like it's a one-way partnership, and so that doesn't feel very good. And so I'm just trying to be really candid with you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do appreciate that.
We'll be answering the same questions, Mr. Smallwood, when it comes to how the use of our library when it reopens and how we handle that. So there'll be a lot of, we always want to figure out how best to make public access available.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes we fall short. And the school district on these issues has been very difficult, particularly for those neighborhood groups and other facilities. So do know we hear about this, and
yeah,
I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? I do have one question. Anthony, can you tell me on the staff recommended, the staff recommendation, are you saying you want a payment of the $27,000?
Yes.
Councilor Hoy, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I move City Council approve the vacation of a portion of an alley and a portion of an unopened right-of-way for 12th Street Northeast, adjacent to the railroad northeast of D Street Northeast, subject to the following conditions. Provision of an easement for the construction, maintenance, repair, and replacement of existing municipal utilities proposed to remain within the unopened right-of-way for 12th Street Northeast, and payment of an assessment of special benefit in the amount of $27,231.
Second.
Second by Anderson. Any discussion?
I think it's all been said.
I want to close that public hearing and then we'll go ahead and vote. I'm sorry, Chris.
All right. Looks like Phillips.
Phillips.
Yeah, so is the motion with or without the funds?
So the motion was to approve the process, but make them pay for it, the $27,000.
Okay.
Not to waive it.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Okay, if the recorder please call the roll.
Counselor Stapleton, absent. Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Leung,
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Counselor Hoy,
Aye.
Counselor Nordike,
Aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Aye.
Mayor Bennett.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. We'll move on then to 4B.
The Salem City Council will now hold a public hearing regarding vacation of an easement over previously vacated George Street Northwest. The applicable criteria is SRC 255.065B7. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria which the person believes to apply to the decision. The failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue shall preclude appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will be conducted with a staff presentation first, followed by testimony from the following. The applicant is limited to 15 minutes. Neighborhood association is limited to 5 minutes. Other interested persons are limited to 3 minutes. Applicant's rebuttal is limited to 7 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, just make clear the public hearing's open, and who's staff on this one?
It's me again, Mr. Mayor. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. So I'd like to enter this staff report into the record. Let me see if I can minimize there. There we go. This is to reiterate a public hearing to consider a petition to vacate an easement over a portion of the previously vacated George Street Northwest. You can see it located here just to the west of Wallace Road. The subject property is located in Ward 8 in West Salem Neighborhood Association. This is the property. This is the current site of the Family Life Church. The building is located here to the north. George Street Northwest was vacated in 1978. It extended this way. This is George Street right here, the cul-de-sac. At that time, a 30-foot public utility easement was reserved as part of the vacation. The vacation of that easement is what is at issue here. The petitioner is planning to construct a building over the area currently reserved for the easement. There are no utilities in the area proposed to be vacated. Staff recommends reserving a new easement from Wallace Road to the northern terminus of Valley View Road right away. That's this here. As a condition of the vacation, this new easement will allow for the provision of gravity, storm, and sanitary sewer utilities for the currently undeveloped tax lot to the southwest, this one right here. Staff recommends approving the vacation subject to the condition to provide the new easement at that farther southern location on the lot. Staff further recommends waiving the assessment of special benefit in exchange for the new easement. Thank you, and I can take any questions, and I know that we also have testimony for this one as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Shipman.
Good evening, Mr. Bennett. Again, for the record, Mark Shipman, Land Use Attorney with Suffolk Griggs, 250 Church Street, Suite 200, Salem, Oregon 97301. Here this evening on behalf of the applicant and property owner of the Family Life Church. Also here with us this evening, virtually, of course, is Jeff Kirkland, the senior pastor with the Family Life Church. As Anthony noted, this property went through a more thorough right-of-way vacation dating back in 1978. During that vacation process, the city actually reserved a 30-foot public utility easement for the extension of future utilities to Wallace Road. Those utilities were never installed. And the church is working on the expansion, as noted, for their facilities. It requires this vacation in order for the church to expand to the south. We agree with staff that you should approve the vacation. And we also agree with providing the new utility easement from Wallace Road to Valley View Avenue Northwest. Although in the future, this new easement, actually, if Anthony was able to pull up his map again, this cuts right through the center of our property, the church's property. And we don't want to upend this process tonight, but what we want to do is we want to note for the council that we, and public works staff, that we really want to work with staff to push that new easement further to the south. And so we'll work with that's correct. Thank you, Anthony. We'll work with our civil engineer and with the city's engineers to be able to make that happen. But we won't have to go through such an exhaustive process as we've been through on this one. Finally, we agree, of course, and appreciate the waiver of the special benefit in exchange for the new public utility easements that would be going on the property. As noted, the applicant currently meets and the mandatory approval criteria for this request, and we would recommend you approve it. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Mr. Shipman, just a quick question then. Are you opposed to the George or the alternative location that they have proposed in the staff recommendation? I'm not sure I understood.
We're only, I don't want to upend the apple cart tonight, Mayor Bennett. We just, let's get it approved, and then we can work with staff on, we can come back after the fact and we can change that easement a whole lot easier than what we've been going through. So we're fine with the location. Let's get it approved, and then we can take further steps to work with staff. Thank you.
Thank you. It helps me out. Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Shipman, for testifying on this. I think this is, I share the same concern that I had on the last one, except in this situation, we're actually doing an exchange. So we're actually getting a public benefit back by getting another easement. So just for people who maybe not have read this one in depth, I feel like it's an equitable exchange, and I'm perfectly fine with waiving the special assessment because we're essentially just swapping easements as the way I look at it. And so it seems like a very reasonable thing to do to me. So I appreciate that approach by the church. It seems like a good outcome for everybody, and I would support your working with staff to come up with a better solution for the location.
Thank you.
Okay, Reverend Kirkland, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
No, thank you. We would be happy to just continue on in the process and get the vacation moved and work with staff to talk about further location, but we're happy to do whatever's needed.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any questions for either of these gentlemen? Any questions for staff? Okay, Councilor Lewis.
Yes, I move approval of the vacation of a portion of an easement over previously vacated George Street Northwest with the condition that a new utility easement be provided from Wallace Road Northwest to the northern terminus of Valley View Avenue Northwest and waive the assessment of special benefit.
Second.
Second by Hoy. Any discussion? Okay, with the recorder would please call the roll.
Councilor Anderson?
Aye.
I gotta apologize just for a second. I can't seem to remember to close these hearings. I'm gonna close that hearing before we vote here. Go ahead.
Okay, Councilor Anderson?
Now I vote aye.
Councilor Phillips?
Aye.
Councilor Young?
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez absent. Councilor Hoy?
Aye.
Councilor Nordike? Councilor Nordike? Councilor Lewis?
Aye.
Councilor Stapleton absent. Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Couldn't get to that.
That's okay. So Nordyke recorded aye. Okay, very good.
So close too.
Okay, we'll go to special orders of business. We'll start with 5A.
If I may, Mayor Bennett, I took some managerial privilege, and I thought because of the importance of this topic, rather than having it be on consent, I placed it on special orders to give counselors an opportunity to hear from Gretchen Bennett. We also have Jimmy Jones from Community Action Agency available, because this is truly a significant action that the council will be taking, again, in partnership with the state, in partnership with one of our leading nonprofit organizations to help our unsheltered residents. And council's leadership on this issue over the years really results in the two recommendations that are before you this evening. So that's why it's under special orders. If you'd like, I can ask Gretchen to kind of frame it up for you. Or
is it okay with you, Steve? I think what I'll do is have Councilor Hoy make a motion and get this on the table, and we'll move forward from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move City Council authorize the city manager to execute the attached grant agreement with the state of Oregon to accept $5 million grant to be used to establish and operate a navigation center in Salem.
Second.
Second by Councilor Lewis. Okay, why don't we then move forward with Mr. Power's suggestion and call on Gretchen Bennett to kind of get us up to speed. And then if Mr. Jones is here, I don't see him, but if he's here, any comments he would have as well. Gretchen, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, you bet. And I am attempting to share my screen in a way that gives you a bit of a visual. Yeah, I think we're all pretty excited to see this moment. I know that this navigation center has been a part of your strategic plan for some time, and many of you exerted significant leadership to achieve this. Community members often ask, what is a navigation center? Oh, oh dear. I think I'm having a little technical difficulty. Well, we wanted to make sure to share with you that the Navigation Center is an opportunity for focused, low barrier services to try to assist people in stabilizing and then connecting to that next step for transitioning from being on the streets into the next step that's going to fit them the best. And I'm having some trouble with visualization. I can't see the slides in front of me, but want to be sure to let you know that this agreement would be progressing with a partnership with the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, and we're just delighted to have the state's investment in this progress. So I will invite your questions, and I do have Jimmy Jones and Ashley Hamilton with the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency here to assist if there are questions.
Oh, any questions on this process for Gretchen? Jimmy, do you want to go ahead and share any thoughts you have on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This is it's the beginning and the end of a long road. This is something that many of us have worked to accomplish, to bring to Salem for many years, and we have a really unique opportunity to accept this grant from the state of Oregon, but also to be able to begin to employ a strategy which is proven on a national level to be exceptionally successful in moving individuals off or out of an unsheltered homeless condition and into permanent housing. It allows us to have a very targeted approach to bring people who have been outside for 5, 7, 8, or 9 years, who are often very difficult to get into permanent housing because in many cases they've been living in an unsheltered condition so long they struggle to adapt to an environment in which they're expected to follow rules and an environment which has very different expectations from living outside. So a navigation center does something very simple. It takes a cohort, a group of people of 30 to 40 at a time, hopefully toward the higher end of that number. We get them inside this shelter and we provide them with intensive case management. We help them get all their documents. We begin to lower some of the trauma levels and some of the barriers that individuals have. And then when they exit that environment, they have a permanent housing placement lined up and ready to go. And so what this does is that it gives us a very, very effective, specifically targeted shelter whose goal is not to continue homelessness, not to manage homelessness as we've been talking about for several years, but essentially to end it. And our goal really ought to be over the long haul to end homelessness in Salem. And I think this is just a very important step in that process. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to come here tonight and to speak in favor of it.
Thank you, Jimmy, very much. I think you can't underscore enough what I think you said there, which is this isn't managing, this is eliminating or assisting people out of homelessness. This has been a multi-year effort by this council and its legislative committee in conjunction with you and other advocates to successfully move this through state funding. I just can't tell you how pleased I am that we finally are successful in this, and want to compliment Mr. Powers and his staff, as well as our lobbying effort through Justin Martin and Perseverance Strategies. This has been just a really great effort, and we missed 2 years of this because of problems with quorums at the legislative level, and we finally now have achieved our goal. I just think we ought to be very, very proud that we stuck to it on this one and got this one through. Councillor Hoy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Bennett and Mr. Jones for testifying. This is a game changer tonight, folks. For people who haven't been paying attention, or even if you have, this is a game changer for homelessness in Salem. Like Jimmy said, this is a substantial effort toward ending homelessness and helping people one person at a time or 30 people at a time to meet their individual needs and help them out of homelessness. This is the kind of hard work that it's going to take to make this happen. And I'm really appreciative of my colleagues, the city staff, especially of the folks at Arches, and especially our legislative delegation. They came through for us. They really tried last time, and through all of those machinations with quorums and politics, it didn't work out, but this time it did. And I am very grateful. So when you hear, if anybody listening, when you hear that the city doesn't do anything about homelessness or whatever, we do a lot. But here's one more thing that is going to be a real game changer to help people change their lives, get off the street, get out of the parks, get out from under I-5, wherever it is. This is going to be their opportunity to really get onto a better place. And I'm super excited about that. I was hoping that Mr. Jones could explain to people a little bit, when we say low barrier shelter, what do we mean? Can you just say what that means in plain English for folks who don't speak this language all the time? I think it's really important that people understand the distinction between, say, regular shelters and a low barrier shelter.
Thank you, Councilor Hoy. I would be delighted to touch on that just briefly. So many people ask me all the time, why don't the people who are living in these camps just go to Union Gospel Mission or some other traditional shelter? Why are they so reticent to accept this kind of assistance? And in many cases, we are dealing with folks who've been outside for a very long time. They may have extraordinary barriers in terms of mental health. They may have extraordinary barriers in terms of substance abuse issues. They may well be in a situation where they're partnered with somebody, and that partner arrangement may not permit them to get into shelter in a traditional sheltering environment. They may have a pet, which is frequently not allowed in a regular sheltering environment. So in this kind of case with the Navigation Center, what we have here is, I won't call it no barrier, but it is about as low barrier gets. The bar on this is not very high for people to get over. So all of those reasons why people have for not going into a traditional sheltering model don't really apply in this particular circumstance. We can take all of those individuals and we can work with them collectively to help find them an appropriate permanent housing outcome.
That's great. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everything that Gretchen and Mr. Jones and Councilor Hoy have said. This is a monumental day for Salem. We've been working on this for a long time, and we can't just wave a magic wand and make things happen, even though that's what people sometimes wish we could do. It takes a lot of hard, dedicated work from the staff, from Mr. Jones and the other social service agency partner, and everybody involved in getting this. So this is terrific. And you will see when we get to the next motion, we're going to be using this to buy a building that we can use for this. We're not going to be going out to the streets to meet people. We are going to be bringing people to a relatively centrally located building that will be dedicated to this. And I may be wrong on this, Gretchen. You'll let me know if I am, but I think we are buying the building with about half of the grant, and then we are able to use the other half of the grant for operational services to keep it running. Is that correct, Gretchen?
No, and I appreciate your graciousness in welcoming me to correct you. We're intending to utilize ARPA dollars to acquire a building and designate as much of these dollars towards operations as
okay, good, good. So that's the basis there. We're going to buy a building with funds provided to us by some source, and we're going to try to operate it with funds provided to us from the state grant. This is terrific. It's a red letter day for our city and our care and compassion for those of us who live among us who are less fortunate than we are. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work.
Councilor Phillips.
Thank you. So this really is like a historic moment. It's phenomenal news. This has been the #1 policy agenda, action item for years in a row. I remember people speaking towards this back in 2017 when we were doing the strategic plan update. So I appreciate the work of the legislative committee, our state delegation for finally making this happen. It's a huge deal. I remember serving on the Homeless Solutions Task Force with Councilor Lewis back in 2018. And this is the biggest single thing that we could do to accomplish the majority of the real world proposed solutions from that task force. So I'm thrilled. I remember when I thought about running for this office that really reasonable, smart people said, no, don't ever expect to be able to get money from the state. I think there's just, an understanded, learned jadedness that government can't work, and it can. I mean, we can come together and see that this makes a real difference. So I'm thrilled. I mean, this is historic. I do actually have a couple questions. I'm not sure if it's best for Jimmy Jones or Gretchen. So I understand the concept of what low barrier is, and that we could be, meeting the needs of 30, maybe 40 or more people at a time. But are there any additional benefits to the community that having this centralized location and physical structure with, additional resources that are funded operationally beyond just the low barrier shelter for those 30 to 40? And then the second question would be, roughly what's the understanding based on data that is the time frame to help people break the cycle? Like, how long would they be, utilizing the Navigation Center for?
Jimmy, why don't you go ahead on those?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Phillips. So just to unpack that in terms of the time frame, generally what we sort of shoot for in a situation like this is 60 to 90 days. It may be a case that certain individuals need to go a little bit longer than that, 120, 150 days. But generally speaking, within that time frame, we can make a lot of progress with most individuals in this particular situation. If it takes longer than that, then you're really looking at, is this really an appropriate sheltering option for those individuals? So the idea behind that is you have an initial group of 30 to 40 individuals. Within 90 days, you're getting to a point in time which, so long as you have dedicated units on the back end, and all system resources really ought to be aligned with making this work at the greatest possible efficacy that it possibly can. That you're exiting out of those initial 30, for example, maybe 20 to 25 into a housing placement after about 90 days. And then the others may have to stick around a little bit longer, and you bring another 20 or 25 in to get you back up to 30, 35, 40. So at the rate in a successful model, what you can see is that by the end of the year, you might have housed 100 individuals out of those cohorts. So, in dealing with a situation like what we have in Salem, where we have, without a doubt, about 1,000 people who are living in unsheltered conditions throughout the urban growth boundary of Salem-Keizer, over the course of the year, you might be able to bring that down by about 10%. And then over the long term, maybe 8 to 10 years, of course, new people are going to enter the system over that period of time, but you significantly reduce the outside unsheltered population over that, long haul, so to speak. The other question about the nature of the building itself, this building has actually been on our radar for several years. You know, when some of the warming conversations came up a couple of years ago, that was one of the ones that we had considered targeting for the development of a dedicated warming center. It is, in my opinion, the best building for this particular purpose in the community. It's situated in an area that's pretty close to the downtown, but just far enough away from both the downtown and the major camping areas that's not going to become an intertwined problem, so to speak. So I'm really excited about this particular facility and its particular location. The layout of the building is very, very good. It gives us a large open barrack area, bunking area where we can, put quite a few people in it. But there's also office space to bring in other nonprofits, other services, the county if they want to come in, and to provide sort of on-site case management, on-site services on a scale which we really haven't had the opportunity to do before. So this is a great building and a great location. Dedicated to a fantastic purpose. So I'm really excited about this opportunity without any reservations.
Yeah, great. Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's interesting because even in the short time that I've been on council, I see more and more progress away from constituents asking me, how do we get rid of them? And more about how do we help them? And more of a, it would be nice if we helped them to, we have a duty to help them. And that last bit is a huge step in that mindset that I think the city has embraced. And that is an enormous achievement. And so, yes, there were a ton of people who worked behind the scenes on this to help make it happen. And I urge my peers, when you go to your neighborhood associations, make sure to tout this, because this is the moment. But it's really also an opportunity to continue educating and bringing more hearts and minds on board with this concept that we should help, we must help, and that it will work. We know that places like Arches use evidence-based practices. They use the Housing First model. The advocates at places like Arches were the first ones to educate me as a baby counselor on what Housing First means and why is the most data-driven approach to ending homelessness. So I thank many members of Jimmy's entire team who I've met and volunteered with. And I also want to give a special shout out to Arches' entire outreach team during this past weekend. They braved unbelievably hostile conditions to bring water, supplies, and offer outreach and shuttle services and things like that to people at a time when a lot of folks would just rather stay indoors. So they were one of our community partners who were real heroes this past weekend, so thank you. Mr. Jones, my question for you is, with the 1,000+ people who are unsheltered, one, how soon can this get up and running? Yesterday would have been nice. Yeah. But also, you've talked a little bit about the fact that you want to work with the chronically homeless. How do you choose the 30 to 40 lucky souls who get to start their journey with you?
So we want to start, thank you, Councilor Nordyke, for that, and thank you especially for recognizing the work that our staff and our agency did this weekend under very trying conditions across the board. In terms of timeline, much depends on what improvements the city chooses to make to its property if y'all decide to acquire it tonight. It could be something if those improvements are minimal that we could be opening in 90 days, 120 days, something along those lines. I would really like to have this up and running for the winter. In terms of who would be selected for this particular property, I'm going to defer to Ashley Hamilton, who's here tonight. She's the program director at our Arches project, and she can tell you with a little bit more clarity what that will look like. I do just want to, before I lose the opportunity to do so, I do want to just remind the public at home that the city has made extraordinary progress on this issue over the course of the last few years. It may look like and may feel like at times that very little is getting done, but you just have to turn back the clock to about 2016. The homeless rental assistance program at the Salem Housing Authority did not exist. Redwood Crossings did not exist. The new Sequoia project that was just funded this week did not exist. Our hotel that we purchased just recently, which will shelter 110, 15 people a night this winter, that wasn't in our portfolio. Many other shelters were not in our portfolio back then. We have the capacity for the first time, I think, in Salem history to begin to talk about getting up to 600, maybe 700 shelter beds over the course of the next few years. So there has been enormous progress on this issue, and there's still a long way to go. But this is another brick in the road to getting us to a better place. Ashley, can you tell the council a little bit about how individuals would be selected for this project?
Absolutely, I would love to. But I first also want to say thank you, Councillor Nordyke, for recognizing my team's tremendous hard work over the weekend. It's much appreciated. So diving into the research and development phase for this navigation center and communicating with known projects in San Francisco and in Portland, it has become evident that it's important to assist clients in moving through the whole continuum of the homeless response system. And the best way to do that is to target that towards specific populations using our dedicated coordinated entry system. So to date, we've assessed over 7,000 individuals into that system, and we would use very specific prioritization metrics in order to place them into that facility. Prioritization would be dependent on certain criteria on need level, vulnerability, and the services that we're able to kind of bring into the service-rich environment focused on medical and case management and housing navigation.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And Jimmy, thank you very much for recalling the work that's gone on over the past number of years, the various programs we've instituted. I know when I became mayor at kind of the beginning of this process, we were really focused on where we were coming from was how do we get people to stop panhandling? And
right.
Really had not taken on the underlying and really fundamental issues here that it took with the Housing First program, which is where we started and moving forward. I think the only piece we haven't had our full success yet, I think we're getting there very rapidly, is getting our sobering center going. We've got other pieces in this as well, yet Quinahall coming. I think there's a great deal more here. And I know it's probably a lot like the things we heard about what the city was supposedly doing during the heat, that we're not doing anything for the homeless. People just absolutely, who know what's going on, know what's going on. Those who don't, make it up. And it's been I think we've had a very successful run here. And I think Arches as our partner, one of our major partners, has been one of the tremendous successes of public-private, public-nonprofit partnerships. So thank you very much for all the tremendous work you do in the leadership in this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet. Councilor Phillips.
Yeah, those were all great concepts, Mayor Bennett, that you just brought up. And I do want to touch on them in a slightly different way. So first, I want to remind myself to say, thank you to all of the experts who actually do the work of caring for our homeless. I don't think people appreciate the expense, the human labor, the time that takes. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everybody that, did stuff this weekend and each and every day, on this front. And in an effort to kind of push back against people's thoughts that this is easy to fix.
Yeah.
I mean, like what we're looking at here, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's my question, is that $5 million, this grant gives us 2 years of operational funding for the navigation center. Is that correct?
It would depend on if and how much we need to pull for preparing the building. For example, we would need to add sprinklers to the building to ensure we meet compliance. And it would depend on the budget that we select for operations. It's possible that the budget and the estimates could be 3 years of operating. We're not clear. And then we have work to do, my friends, in determining our long-term strategy for identifying revenue to meet the needs. We're working hard right now to identify solutions and utilizing these short-term dollars, but we've got a really big long-term question to resolve.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And so, I mean, again, we're going to need the help from the state legislature, moving forward 2 to 3 years from now. But just the idea that you could, with $1 million, house 1,000 people in this community in year one is not reality. So I just wanted, said out there in a public forum that this is what it takes. It took from 2016 to now, every person here, trying to make this a reality. So when I go to neighborhood association meetings in the future, I just want that having been said. And again, Gretchen Bennett, Jimmy Jones, everybody, thank you so much for your work on this.
Very good. Councilor Lewis.
I can't add anything new, but on my screen, Mr. Jones and Ms. Bennett are together in the bottom right-hand corner. I want to speak to you both individually and give my personal appreciation for all the work that you've done. If I remember correctly, neither one of you really asked for this particular function, but yet you have taken it on and you're still there. And I don't know if there's anything that deserves more appreciation than that. Your tenacity is something that you should go home tonight and feel very good about.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and, unless there's more to be said, let's go ahead and vote on this and move forward on the next part. So if the recorder would please call the roll.
Councillor Phillips?
Aye.
Councillor Leung?
Aye.
Councillor Gonzalez, absent. Councillor Hoy?
Aye.
Councillor Nordijk?
Aye.
Councillor Lewis?
Aye.
Councillor Stapleton, absent. Councillor Anderson? Councillor Anderson?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Motion passes. Very good. We'll move on then to 5B. Councilor Anderson. You want to make your motion?
I sure do. I move the staff recommendation on 5B that we execute a purchase and sale agreement with Nguyen Investments LLC for the acquisition of property located at 1185 22nd Street Southeast for a navigation center.
Very good. Second by Oy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
We've already talked about this with the prior motion. There's not much more to say except that this is I've already said it's fantastic. We're buying the building. It's a perfect location. It'll be perfect service. And this is a red letter day for the city and for all of the people who reside in our city.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to tour this building a month or so ago. And I'll tell you, Jimmy's description of it is really right on the mark. It is really it looks like it was purpose built. It's really an excellent building for the purpose that's going on here. Very large open space for the folks that'll be coming into it as clients, as well as the kind of service sections that I think are really appropriate, right down to storage of gear, mail. It really is quite an amazing building. It's an old state, I think, DHS building, and it really is an excellent. We were very fortunate to find a building that was just perfect for this. I think it somewhat guarantees that we'll be able to use as much money as possible on program as opposed to on building. I really am hopeful on this. So I can't recommend this building enough. It's really quite good. Yes, Councilor Lewis.
Yeah, I only want to, just from personal experience, I spent quite a bit of time in that building as a volunteer for the Marion County CASA program, and it is situated perfectly. It's close, good transportation, not connected to any of the homeless places now, but yet close enough where the service will be in a great location. So it really is perfect for it, and it's nice to see it happen.
Hey. Anything else? If not, we'll move. Oops, Councilor Phillips.
So it might be a little bit off topic, but again, I'm really happy about this and getting this funding and getting this building acquired. Maybe staff could speak to this. Will it make it easier for us to get the second and third priority on our policy agenda item done, like moving towards getting a sobering center? Will this help us unlock those new things that the mayor mentioned earlier?
Yeah, well, because we won't have to spend money on this one and we can start focusing on the sobering center, I think may be the best way to describe it. It's you just knock these off one at a time. You really, but I think we get this kind of thing going, the sobering center becomes far more critical. People understand you can really get a much more focused attention from some of our partners who aren't quite as involved at this point with us on this problem. So I think we'll see some action on this, Trevor. I really do.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Good. Okay. We all know the councilor's motion. We'll have the recorder call a roll.
Councilor Young?
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez, absent. Councilor Hoy?
Aye.
Councilor Nordike?
Aye.
Councilor Lewis?
Aye.
Councilor Stapleton, absent. Councilor Anderson?
Aye.
Councilor Phillips?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. That's very good. It is a really good day for us. Okay, we're going to go to 3.3I. Lewis, you have a motion?
Yes, I move staff recommendation.
Second.
Second by Hoy.
If I could, this is deja vu for me. I could swear we just talked about this, the other day, but my guess is it was probably just about a year ago. And I remember thinking then, how does this compare to the response team that we're talking about having here in Salem? How does this compare to what they have in Eugene? And since it's been going on for a number of years, there should be some statistics. How does it compare to Cahoots? And I don't know if there's anybody here that could respond, but I'm just curious about how this program has been working and what we could take from it to supplement what we want to do here in Salem.
Mayor Bennett, we do have Police Chief Womack available, who I think could provide just a high-level response, and we can certainly follow up with the data that Councilor Lewis requested regarding the performance of really these teams on both sides of the river. And that might be what you're remembering, Councilor Lewis. This may have come before council for Marion County. This is the Polk County team. But Chief Womack?
Chief, what do you think?
Yeah, thank you. We're happy to provide some more data. We can gather that and provide an update to council. And as mentioned, it's a longstanding partnership on both sides of the river. This has been in place since 2016 here with Polk County. And just as an overview, a combination between the Polk County Sheriff's deputies and our officer assigned in partnership with a qualified mental health professional. It provides a joint response to folks suffering behavioral health crisis or otherwise needing assistance that we want to move away from a criminal justice response and have a much more coordinated mental health services response. And so this is a best practice across the country. I was happy to see when I arrived, it was already longstanding and in place. And it provides that type of co-response necessary that I talked about before for these type of social ills, the complex social ills that we face as first responders. It provides the type of cross-boundary collaboration that I think is absolutely necessary to be effective in these situations. And so great success. I wish I had more detail for you now, but I'm happy to gather the stats and provide a better update.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Councilor Nordike.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilor Lewis. I appreciate your questions as well. And I think the big difference that we see between this and the Coots model is that you're still dispatching law enforcement as part of this particular crisis team. And the Coots model has no police dispatch. And we heard from Tim Black, who talked about how a tiny number of their calls that they responded to, I think 150 calls involve police backup out of over 20,000 calls that Cahoots did. So they do lower level, less dangerous calls would be the easiest way that I can put it, who do handle a lot of the social ills that Chief Womack was referring to. So that to me, in a nutshell, is the single biggest difference. This still has law enforcement responding to it. And what we've been seeing in our community is support for a crisis unit that has no law enforcement component to it. And it's in addition to, we've funded our police force, we've funded our fire department, and this is our goal long-term I think based on what the public support is and based on the money we've already recommended through the city budget process, is to have a mobile response unit in addition to Salem and Police and Fire.
Great, thanks. And Chief Womack, we'll look forward to your response on this. The information you can bring us some data on this, I think will be real helpful. Okay, Councilor Phillips.
Yeah, so just because the conversation started tonight, my understanding, which I think is being said, and we'll get more information in the future, which I really very much look forward to. But as an emergency room doctor, I mean, a lot of the decision is whether or not they come to us. So I can attest to the fact that the systems that we have with Marion and Polk County are phenomenal. But this is definitely a yes and situation. I mean, the sworn officers that are involved in the Polk County and Marion County do excellent work that really, helps decrease trauma and helps people out where they're at with the resources we currently have. But it's my personal opinion that we would absolutely benefit from an additional, civil mobile crisis response unit that has some ability to do more lower level, point of care service and start utilizing additional future services like the navigation center and maybe a sobering center. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion. Would the recorder please call a roll?
Councillor Gonzalez, absent. Councillor Hoy.
Aye.
Councillor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councillor Lewis.
Aye.
Councillor Stapleton, absent. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Phillips.
Aye.
Councillor Leung.
Aye.
Mayor Bennett.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. 3.3J, Councilor Leung, you called it up. Do you want to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to go with staff recommendation.
Second.
Second by Hoy.
I just have actually more of a question than anything, and maybe perhaps a request of staff, not necessarily for them to answer today, but coming back at a future city council meeting. When I initially first started getting involved in the city, I started with the Human Rights Commission, and it was a great experience for me. But one thing that I felt was always lacking, especially in some of the other boards and commissions, was ensuring that there was representation from all the different communities that make up Salem. And I was wondering if the city staff would be able to provide at a future city council meeting a breakdown of not necessarily, I guess a breakdown of who we have representing on boards and commissions.
Gretchen, do you want to answer that? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate that. We're at work on studying both the makeup of our applicants as well as looking at options for voluntarily learning more about the makeup of our seated members as well, and working on some recommendations through the Boards and Commissions Appointments Committee. So yes, it's in progress. I don't have a timeline yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Very good. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilor Phillips.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to ask a question on this, but would the equity lens that the Human Rights Commission is working on, would that also overlap with this question and the effort to, get better representation throughout our community on these important, positions?
Absolutely. Great question. It provides a way to look at making decisions about how we're doing the recruitment process and the outreach process, how we're selecting applicants, and how we approach the management day-to-day of the meeting. What is the meeting experience like? And are we considering all of our different communities in the protocol and the procedures? So yes, absolutely.
And a follow-up really quick, remind me, when will the equity lens come back to council?
Thank you. I think we're in staff discussions about that right now. It's in your packet as a document of offering that the commission has offered to council, but at this time we don't have a date for a next step with city council.
I think if for boards and commissions, we'll be bringing you some other recommendations. We really, one of the things we are figuring out is we don't have enough data on who's on our boards and commissions and who's applying. We don't know enough about them. We'll be talking with you about this at some future point. It may come as a resolution or in some other way. But we try very hard, I think, as a committee to make sure we're getting as close as we can to the representation with the level of information we have on applications right now, which isn't always as complete as you might think it would be. We don't know everybody who applies personally, so we don't always know who exactly we're looking at in that way. We just look at their application and their qualifications. So we're getting there, I think, on this. Is that fair, Gretchen?
It is, yes. The questions around demographics are voluntary in nature and don't necessarily capture all of the types of identities that you may be interested in.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Recorder would please call a roll.
Counselor Hoy,
Aye.
Counselor Nordike,
Aye.
Counselor Lewis,
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton, absent. Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Phillips,
Aye.
Counselor Leung,
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez, absent. Mayor Bennett.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, we'll move on to information reports. Any? Counselor Phillips.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ward 3 stuff on the agenda tonight. So,
Oh,
6F, I just want to comment on it. I have talked with city staff.
okay.
I don't know if there's a protocol. This is the first time I've done an informational thing since actually being a city councilor. Last time I was a guest councilor.
What would you like to know?
Okay, perfect. So this is, I'm really excited about this specific agenda item that I really commend the developers on their presentation and also just working with the local community entities, not just listening, but, back and forth and making real world adjustments. To see a unanimous support from the neighborhood association in Morningside, to see support from the Heritage School, and then to see that, we're actually going to start to see some progress on getting improvement to Reed Road. And specifically along the frontage here, the staff said that it looks like it really is a full street improvement along their frontage, not just a half street improvement. So, once again, a year or two ago, people were saying it's going to be a decade before you see real world improvement. And now I'm being told, within a year or two, we're going to start to see real progress. So this was just really exciting, and I wanted to highlight that.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments on or anything else you want to do with an information report here? Okay, we'll move along then to first readings.
Mr. Mayor, on this initial ordinance here, this is the proposed chapter to establish real estate procedures. There will be a public hearing scheduled for the end of next month. And if you have any questions now, I'm happy to answer them, or we can cover them during the public hearing.
So what you're saying, Dan, is that we would move this to second reading, and we'll have a public hearing between now and then. Give us
That's correct.
We go over it. Okay. Everyone okay with just moving ahead on this then? Get it to a public hearing? Okay. Why don't you go ahead, Ruthie, and
I need to make a motion first, Mr. Mayor.
I thought I heard you say, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry, my dog started barking at the same time.
I thought that was you. No, I'm kidding.
I'm a lot of we get confused all the time. Sorry about that. I move City Council schedule a public hearing of Ordinance Bill number 6-21, establishing procedures for the city's acquisition and disposition of interest in land, and proceed to second reading after the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Lewis. Any discussion? Dan, do you have anything more you want to say on this?
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Okay. All right. If the recorder, please call a roll.
I'll read it into the record first, Mayor.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ordinance Bill number 6-21, an ordinance relating to city real property interests, amending SRC 2.200 and creating new provisions. Counselor Nordike? Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Counselor Lewis?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton absent. Counselor Anderson?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Leung?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Okay, you want to do 7B? Lucy, do you do it first?
Yes. Ordinance Bill number 7-21, an ordinance relating to repealing ordinance number 7-10 concerning the vacation of a portion of the Strong Road Southeast right-of-way and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Councilor Phillips.
So do I have to make them? This is my first time doing this.
Yeah, just do a staff, just move the staff recommendation.
I move the staff recommendation for repealing ordinance number 7-10 and rescinding the authorization to vacate a portion of Old Strong Road Southeast.
I'm
Great.
proud to second that.
There we go. Councilor Anderson.
Nailed it. Okay, then
You want to discuss it?
yes, I do. So I had the pleasure to speak with Director Fernandez, Public Works Director, about this. It was a little confusing to me at the beginning, and I was happy to learn that we're not, as a community here in Southeast Salem, losing anything. We're still getting the realignment to connect Lindbergh to the new Strong Road. So there's no regression in what this community is getting. What's changing is that we're keeping Old Strong Road for the time being, which my understanding is that kind of gives the city more. We still have ownership of that for a longer period of time, whereas if we were to just vacate that, it would go back to the original property owners. So this seemed like a very reasonable thing to do once it was explained to me. I guess my question to staff would be, did I summarize that correctly?
I don't know. Who's gonna call it?
I will, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
Peter Fernandez, Public Works Director. Yes, Councilor Phillips, you did a great job for a Saturday morning conversation. Yes, that's really what it is. I have Julie Warnicki here with me if we want to get into details, but I think severally, if we're going to have a hearing for a second reading, we can certainly get into more details then. But the bottom line is that we are the new Strong Road is being constructed. Old Strong Road, leaving it as right-of-way for the time being doesn't change anything. In fact, it gives us a lot more flexibility. So this is not, this should not be of any concern at this point. It's really more of a technical fix.
Thank you for talking with me on Saturday and for the comments here. I think it helps, for the understanding of the community.
Okay. Dan, did you have something to say?
No, sir.
Okay. Julie? I just see your pictures. I can't believe we're here just for the fun of it, so.
Yeah, no, but this will be going to second ordinance reading with no public hearing.
That's right. Yeah, this is it till we get second reading. Okay. All right. If the recorder, please call the roll.
Counselor Lewis?
Aye.
Counselor Stapleton absent. Counselor Anderson?
Aye.
Counselor Phillips?
Aye.
Counselor Leung?
Aye.
Counselor Gonzalez absent. Counselor Hoy?
Aye.
Counselor Nordike? Counselor Nordike?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. And I have no second reading, so we'll go to public comment on other than agenda items. First up is Mr. Garcia.
All right, hello. Okay, are we good to go? I can't see a timer.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Garcia. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I had a formal speech prepared, but you know what? I've kind of learned this is an informal gathering, so I'm just going to talk. I'm not going to be as organized in my thoughts, but hopefully I'll get my points across. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for all that you do for the city, for the unsheltered population. Thank you for the cooling centers. Gretchen is awesome. Thank you for, just the clear empathy I see here. And so I do want to echo that. With that being said, I do sit with the tension that I'm around a lot of the suffering on a weekly basis. And so, I love the optimism is good, but I also sit with the, there's still some ways to go. And so,
I do want to kind of tackle that today. I think homelessness is growing. It is it's an issue that's growing in severity. And I guess my point today is the council has a great, capacity to impact change. And I love the way that the council is using the hard tools it has at its disposal, its budgets, its workforce to move change forward. What I kind of like to see more, and it was kind of hinted at earlier in these discussions with constituents, but more of the use of soft power. So the city council kind of using, bully pulpit is a hard word, but they're kind of your guys' ability to mobilize the Salem conscience to kind of, I believe in Salem, we blame two people. We blame the poor and we blame the government. And I'd really love Salem to start learning to kind of embrace their own, I can't see my time here, so I'm just gonna keep going. I would love to see the churches especially kind of take up, and it's the Salem as a whole, really pick up their responsibility in this problem. And so I really would like to see you guys just as an idea, just leaning into facilitation, you guys, helping facilitate conversations around homelessness. I know Salem Leadership Foundation does a lot of interactions between the city and the church and various nonprofits. And so what I'd love to see, is just this. I just want to see improved dialogue, I guess, because I think what's happening is we have various pockets that are working and they're not really unified, and there's not really this impetus on the churches as like, hey, we have to be a part of a larger solution versus just kind of in our own silo. And so the city, I guess, leaning some more, reaching out to Salem Leadership Foundation, reaching out to churches, saying, hey, this is how the church can play a role helping solve this crisis. And so now I can see the timer, but and so that's really it. I'm going to look down to my notes. I do think, just the last thing, I think it really inspires hope when people know that their smaller contribution is a part of a larger scheme. And so when you see, I know there's struggles finding safe parking residents. I'm going to stop there, but thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia. Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Garcia, for your comments. I appreciate them. And I want to make you aware of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. That's an entity where we're an integral part. I actually am the vice chair of that group. And it's a regional group of folks in Marion and Polk counties, the city of Salem, Kaiser, Independence, Monmouth, Marion County, Polk County, all sorts of nonprofits, the school district, the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Run, and we are working together to have a consolidated effort around homelessness. And the reason I wanted to bring that up to you specifically is because we have what we call a collaborative committee. And those are the folks who are actually on the ground doing the work kind of like what I'm imagining that you're doing. And those folks come together every month and work on how to collaborate and how to work together in making a more seamless system rather than just a bunch of individual organizations or individual efforts. And so if you look up, I can't think of the website right off the top of my head, but if you Google Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance and then look for the collaborative committee, you'll find that schedule. And those are public meetings. They're currently meeting all remotely on Zoom, just like we are. And you're always welcome to attend those. And I know that there are service providers. There are certainly people from the faith community. Church at the Park is an integral part of it. Arches, Salem Health, you name it. It's a really broad spectrum of groups that come together and are working on just the very thing that you're talking about. And I would really encourage you to get involved with that group and see how you can help amplify and create that more seamless approach.
Yeah, that's just really good advice. The other, I think, to add to that, you heard Gretchen Bennett from the Mayor and Manager's office this evening. I really recommend if you have thoughts, you talk with her as well. She's doing a great deal of that kind of coordinated effort as well. There's an extraordinary amount of that going on, and I think that you sharing your information, both your thoughts tonight, as well as I think your written testimony, I think would be very valuable to us. So don't be reluctant to email that in so we can see kind of what your complete thoughts look like as you talked about this, because you clearly are someone experienced in it and think about it a great deal. So your opinions and thoughts are highly valued. really appreciate you coming down tonight. Any other questions for Mr. Garcia? Okay.
Yes,
Paul.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I can't see you, so you're going to have to speak up. Is that you, Nordike?
Yes, it sure is.
Okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, in addition to the resources that Councilor Hoy mentioned, Church of the Park is one of the many churches and houses of worship that does work for the homeless in the area. I volunteered with them to serve food to the homeless and to transport supplies when they were assisting with staffing our temporary shelter at the fairgrounds. And Church of the Park is extremely tied into Salem Leadership Foundation and helped them secure their building, which is something I don't think we've celebrated at city council meetings, but Church of the Park was able to raise the $350,000 or so they needed to buy a building, which is yet another step in the positive direction for getting more and more opportunities for unsheltered. And as another example, First Presbyterian was one of the places to open its doors as a cooling center over the weekend. We know that First Presbyterian is one of our churches in the area that is supportive warming networks when the time arises in the wintertime. So I can't tell you that some churches are very participatory, but we absolutely need more. I know a lot of churches have gigantic parking lots. And about a year or so ago, we already voted to approve a car camping program. And believe me, there's a lot of work that Ms. Bennett and DJ Vincent Church of the Park and plenty others are doing behind the scenes to try to persuade more houses of worship to get on board with the concept of even having 1 or 2 or 3 cars, or maybe 1 to 3 tiny homes or pallet shelters on their premises with their own porta potties and their own place to be, because that would be manageable. So I think, you know, we need to do more education. You can never do enough. And we need to continue to change hearts and minds to show that the homeless are not the boogeyman. They're real people like us. Thank you for your testimony. I appreciated it.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, Mr. Garcia. Paul Lindauer, I'm not sure if he's still here or is here. Okay, I don't see him. All right, and that concludes our meeting for this evening.
He's here.
Is he here? Where is he?
He's under Paul.
I can't see him. I just
Here, I'll ask him to unmute.
There,
Am I unmuted?
there he is.
Unmuted.
Go ahead, Mr. Lindauer. Sorry.
All right, have you got my video?
Nope, just got you. Your voice. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Paul, and I'm here representing the Salem Bicycle Club. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit with my announcement. I'm here to announce that the Salem Bicycle Club is hosting the 45th annual Monster Cookie Bike Ride, August 29th. Unfortunately, we won't be starting at the Capitol Mall, as is tradition. Instead, we'll be starting at Kaiser Rapids Park. We anticipate upwards of 1,000 participants from all parts of the Northwest. Our planning committee, Hirsch Sangster, Don Thompson, Jim Ross, and others have been hard at work, and everything seems to be falling into place. We've got permits, food, volunteers, security, traffic control. They're all lined up. We have 3 routes planned this year, 61 miles, and a new family-friendly novice ride of 6.1 miles, slated for kids. They ride free. Every rider that finishes their route gets a monster cookie. This event is a 45-year tradition. Salem, as a city, garners hotel traffic and taxes. We have people from out of state using Salem hotels. Food vendors are from Salem. The 3 bike shops and several food stores are gaining spin-off dollars from this event. Our Chamber of Commerce with Travel Salem see it as a boon. Marion County views it as a draw for tourism. So with all that said, we see this as a Northwest regional event. Salem is an important part of it and will benefit greatly.
So again, the 45th annual Salem Bicycle Club Monster Cookie Bike Ride will start from Kaiser Rapids Park on August 29th at 8 a.m. We sincerely hope that next year's event will be able to return to its traditional start location at the Capitol Mall in Salem. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Councilor Anderson. Councilor Anderson, you're not coming through. Is it just me? Councilor Hoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Lindauer, for coming down. I'm going to be happy to be running the registration once again this year for the Monster Cookie Ride. I don't know how many years in a row I've been doing it, but happy. I'm a proud member of the Salem Bicycle Club and happy to be supporting this event. A little bit sad it's not taking place starting at the Capitol Mall this year, but you know, everything's different this year. But it's a great ride for all levels, and I encourage people to participate. Thank you, Mr. Lindauer.
Thank you, Councilor Hoy.
There.
Councilor Anderson, did you want to try again? And it's not working. I'm sorry, Tom, it's just not working. I bet what you're going to say is you're going to ride and you're really excited. Okay. Anyone else want me to fill in for him real quick? Okay.
No, but if we could continue that from now on, that's something.
No. Okay, is anyone else? Okay, then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
You.